All right, I think we're live. Yes, we are live. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Here we are back at our second book club talking about Daring Greatly. Last time I saw at the end that there had been someone commenting through like half the stream, what book are we reading? So
oh no,
it's Daring Greatly. Welcome. If you read, great. I can't wait to see your comments, and I did read through your emails to see what you guys thought, so thank you so much for sending those. And Vivian's here. Welcome, Vivian.
Yay.
Thank you.
It feels complete now.
Nice.
Thanks everyone for coming. I've seen comments saying that people are here from Michigan. I saw someone from France is here. Someone from Utah. Anyways, I'm just looking through. Like, people are from all over the place. So, hello from Scotland, Puerto Rico, Pennsylvania, Mexico. So, anyways, exciting to connect.
Norway.
Ooh.
I've never been there.
New Zealand.
Norway is one of, probably, honestly, the most beautiful place I've ever been. So
it is really pretty.
It was also the most.
Add it to my list.
Yes, it was the most expensive McDonald's meal I've also ever gotten.
Yes.
I think I paid like 20. Oh yeah, Whitney was with me. We paid like $20 for our lunch at McDonald's, and we got the basics. I was like,
I didn't know you were living large, man.
I know. I didn't know that I couldn't afford to live there, and we had like 3 days off, so we're like, how are we gonna survive? Anyways, I feel like I haven't talked to you ladies much this week. Normally me and all of these girls talk like constantly all week on Marco Polo. So does anybody have any crazy updates or anything they want to share with the group?
I mean, I feel like, Lindsay, you've been busier, back to getting busy, right?
I have. I mean, it was okay. Just everybody. I had the slowest months in like January and February. I was just like, what do I do? And I was trying to make up things to do. And anyways, just nothing was really happening. And then in the last week, I filmed like 5 projects in 4 days. It was insane. So the world is coming together again. In my world, I'm very excited about that and can't wait to share with you guys what I've been working on, but I can't tell you yet.
And we're all like,
you tell us. No.
Right, I'll just tell you, I'll whisper it really quickly right here. Oh wow, someone from Alaska and Romania, the Netherlands. This makes me so happy, you guys. It makes me feel like in a way I'm getting to like that tour feeling where I get to like connect with you guys. So I love it. Caitlin, also you said you brought pictures today that you were talking about last week.
Yeah, I tried to show on my phone, but I'm realizing this isn't the greatest way to show it either. But these are some mission pics of Lindsay and I. Oh,
there it is.
Let's see. Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Love the hat.
Yeah, check out those hats.
See the hats for sure.
And
are you warming your hands on something?
No, it's a frozen fire hydrant. We have Bernie Sanders gloves on.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, that's the thing now, the Bernie Sanders gloves.
Okay, yeah. And then this is where we're trying to prop a Smirnoff bottle. It was like a giant one we found in the garbage. We totally pulled it out.
Wait, is it legit like this big?
Yeah, it's like plastic.
It's
plastic. It was a display, you know, and it's broken, but we're like, because we're missionaries fighting crime, and so we were like, yeah, let's pose with this.
Alcohol is evil.
Lindsay's leg like up like that. Lindsay was like holding her leg up.
Yep, she was doing that. But this is probably the most epic picture I have with Lindsay and I.
Oh, you look like babies.
We do.
We are.
We actually are babies.
So cute. And your hat is so cute,
right
Lindsay.
Out of the womb. She wore that all the time. Oh, that's a better angle. Wait. No.
She probably still has it.
I still have that hat. I wore it like every day on my mission. I loved that hat. My mom gave it to me, and I still wear it. So.
But it wasn't ever to be worn because she just wore it on the back.
Just like
right?
set it on the back.
Set it on the back. It was like it was for. But do you want me to tell this story?
Yeah, this story is hilarious.
Oh my god, you guys might have heard this story, but we're holding here our caricature, which I wish I could get it to be clear, but we have to get special permission to go to like oh my gosh, Times Square, you know, down in the middle of everything.
By the way, everybody, Caitlin and I were missionaries together. So like little sister missionaries. And anyways, that's where we met. So, okay, to finish the story.
Yes. And so we got special permission to go down and find one of those artists that does like caricatures, So we picked out specific like outfits.
Yeah,
and
we
like,
wanted to look so cute.
But she looking at this picture, I'm like, that was the outfit I chose.
I know.
Wait, you gotta put it back up. It's the cutest picture ever.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'll tell you the story, then I'll give it. So we picked, and we were like hyped. We were so excited, right?
Yeah,
like,
we've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, and we went and we finally found somebody, and we're like, so we'd like you to pick or draw us. And like, we kept saying, we're missionaries. See, like, look at our tags, we're missionaries. And so we're sitting there and the artist is facing us. So we can't see what he's drawing, right? So he's drawing and we're just like, oh, and then we see people like walking past him and looking at it and like looking at us and then kind of walking by or like making faces. And we start looking at each other like,
what is he drawing?
What's happening?
Yeah.
What is happening? We thought, because honestly, we got a lot of weird looks as missionaries a lot of times, but he turned it around and we were both like devastated.
When we were pointing, when we were pointing at our tags, he didn't speak English very well. I think he thought we were pointing at our boobs. And he gave us huge boobs.
And we're wearing like, there's even, I wish I could, okay, let's see.
Oh my
it's
God.
like low cut, like cleavage.
Oh, you can't even tell.
Next week?
Oh, look at what Lindsay's wearing. She has like bangles and a tube top.
Yeah, and like a bottom that's like not pants skirt.
I mean, other than her hat, that does not look like her.
Nothing like.
Oh my gosh.
Like, there's a light pole or maybe a stripper pole. I don't know. It is literally the opposite. We were so devastated. We got into the subway to go home and we didn't even talk to each other. We just
so
sat
disappointed.
There.
Oh God.
Did you pretend that you liked it? Like, were you like, oh, thanks?
No.
Well, we just like took it and paid him and just like didn't say anything. We just walked away shocked. And then like halfway home, we're both like, our picture's awful.
Oh.
Anyways, good times, good times.
I've never heard that's your next Halloween costumes, you guys.
Right?
Oh
They create the scandalous missionary photo. Just love. Like, our tags were missionaries. And he's just like, okay.
Okay.
Seriously hilarious.
And we have like huge hoop earrings. Oh my gosh.
Caitlin and I have so many funny stories we were only missionary companions for 6 weeks, and yet I just feel like I had so many experiences in that time that were so funny. Okay, anyways, I see some people saying that's the best missionary story. Without this experience, what's it about?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So anyways, thank you so much for everybody who is following and who's chosen to subscribe. Please, you can join the Discord by typing !Discord in the comments and the link will pop up so you can join the Discord. And if you subscribe, you not only get the cute little Lindsay icons that you can use, but you also get to be a part of the subscriber only Discord where I go in there and chat a lot and answer questions. So, anyways, let's get
emojis
started.
Are really cute too.
Aren't they so cute? One of my fans designed them. Her name's Helen Butcher, and she's done fan art in the past. And so I reached out, like now every once in a while I'll reach out to her and just be like, hey, I need some art. And she's so talented.
Good job, Helen.
Yeah, love Helen.
So cool.
Well, okay, I say, you guys ready to dive in?
Ready.
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right. Recap from last week, guys. The reason I chose this book is because it's my favorite book and I felt like I needed to read it again. But also, this is the book that inspired my entire album, Brave Enough. Like, the concepts of the songs and the themes of the music videos, like the arena and even Lost Girls, they were all very much so inspired by the themes in this book. So this really ties into like my musical journey as an artist, and also it changed my life. So, and Whitney, you were saying you saw a comment in something in the comments. I want you to share if you can find it.
Deacon123 said, not to be dramatic, but the first book club changed my life.
Oh, that like makes me so happy. I wish I could take credit, but it's Brene Brown changed your life. So I'm so glad that like, I don't know, I'm just really glad we can discuss this. So today we only decided to do one chapter because it was so long and it had so many good points in it. So it talks about the myths of vulnerability. So first of all, the first myth that she talks about, which I think is probably the most widely accepted myth about vulnerability, is that it is a weakness. And so why do you guys think this is such a commonly accepted belief, that vulnerability is a weakness?
I
Anybody?
was like waiting for the chat. Oh no, wait, yes, you're talking to us.
I think like when people get emotional about something, they think it's a weakness, you know? Like whenever someone is like telling a story or an experience and they start to tear up, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't need to be emotional, you know? And it's kind of just like ingrained that like, people always say, oh, it's okay to cry. But then when you're in that moment and you feel vulnerable and you're like tearing up, you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be crying. And you feel like you have to apologize or something.
Yeah, feelings oftentimes people identify with weakness. So it would make sense because when you're feeling vulnerable, oftentimes it's like an extreme emotion that takes place with it, whether that's sadness, fear, excitement, joy. Not always, but oftentimes. And so it makes sense that, yeah.
Right. And I think that like she talks a lot about how like a lawyer, you know, or like I can't be vulnerable, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a man, or, you know, a woman in the workplace. She's like, I can't cry because, you know, then the men will just call me a woman, you know, that shouldn't be here. And so I think so many times when we feel like we have to be professional, it feels like that also means that like we have to show that we're strong and that we're not, you know, when we take that as being vulnerable. How is vulnerability or lack of vulnerability related to judgment and criticism? I thought this was really interesting when she talked about how it's related. Let me see. There was some quotes in here about that.
Say that question again.
How is vulnerability or lack of vulnerability related to judgment and criticism?
A good one.
Jenny?
I
know. I'm like,
don't be quiet. We need your help.
Well, I think oftentimes when we see someone being vulnerable, it strikes a chord in someone else. It strikes a chord back in you. And so to protect ourselves from feeling and connecting with what that person's feeling, oftentimes we'll put, and I don't think we're like doing this consciously, but we'll put this shield to shield us from having to feel what they're feeling. And then in order to shield, we put judgment and blame to put kind of a wall between us.
Yes.
That would be like, that's like a deeper thing. Sometimes it can just be like, again, going back to that statement of myth, like, oh, that showing, you know, not being quote unquote maybe put together, that's a weakness, or oh man, like they need to get it together or whatever, you know. It could also, you know, just be a more surface in that way.
And I also think that, like, I probably will say this many times, but I'm such a believer that life is oftentimes a mirror of ourselves. And if we won't allow ourselves to be vulnerable and show emotions or show that we could possibly have imperfections, it's really hard for us to accept that in others, because empathy comes from feeling. You know, the only way you can be understanding of somebody else is if you have experienced your own feelings. And if you understand what it, like, you don't have to understand perfectly what they're going through, but you know what it's like to like open yourself up to like pain or like, oh gosh, I felt that way. And it takes out a lot of the criticism and judgment that we're so quick to go to. You know, and we see that all the time. People are so quick to judge other people, but if you are letting feelings in and allowing yourself to be softened by vulnerability in yourself, I think we're a lot less quick to judge other people, because fear and discomfort in ourselves often becomes judgment and criticism for others. And that's something Brene Brown said, that, and I just love that, fear and discomfort in ourselves becomes judgment and criticism towards others.
One of the things that I really liked, and you can, the thing that I like about this stuff is you can start to explore it in yourself. So if you look at a post and you find yourself feeling, or an interaction with another person where you find yourself feeling judgy or blamey or whatever, a good example would be like, you know, let's say that someone asks, or you're fine with helping someone, like someone else asks for help, you feel fine helping someone, but for yourself to ask for help would be way too vulnerable and you wouldn't want to do that. Ultimately, what that is saying, and Renee talks about this in the book, is that you must have, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, some sort of reaction and judgment to asking for help, that you're even putting on that person if you're uncomfortable even doing it asking it for yourself. And I think that is just so, like, that to me, like, stung when I read that, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, if I'm not willing to do that for myself, then I must have some sort of negative judgment attached to it that I'm subconsciously putting on other people, even though I think I'm okay with them asking for help. There must be something there. And you really can do that with a lot of things, you know?
Absolutely. Well, sorry, go on, Caitlin.
That there's a list she has, you know, about when she asks people, like, what does vulnerability, or how does vulnerability feel, or what does it look like to you? And there's this list, you know, that people put in, or of what it feels like for them, like what things are scary for them. And I remember as I read it, I was like, well, that one's not scary for me. Oh, but that one's not scary for me. And what I kind of was thinking about was that vulnerability looks different to every person. And if somebody comes to you, or you hear about it, or they post something or whatever, it's never our place to judge what is vulnerable for somebody else, because we don't live their life. Like, it's different for everyone. And if someone claims it to be hard for them to say or whatever, then take it as that. Like, don't say, oh, you shouldn't worry about that or whatever. Like, if it's hard for them, then it's hard. Like, they're really feeling that thing. And anyways, yeah.
And likewise, you know, I think we've all done this, where you compare your thing that's vulnerable to somebody else's, and you almost judge yourself. It's like a backwards effect of exactly that same thing. Because you're like, well, I shouldn't, like, mine is so small. Like, why am I making such a big deal of this, where, like, so-and-so is going through that, you know? And it's like, exactly what you said. Hard is hard, and it's all relative to what we're going through and what they're going through. And so just being that empathetic person that has experienced your kind of hard, and so it helps you understand somebody else's kind of hard.
Yeah. Did you say this, Janny? Maybe it was you. Someone taught me this, and I was like, that makes so much sense. But, like, I remember my sister-in-law has really, I don't know what the word is, the pain receptors in her hands. Like, she just doesn't feel pain in her fingers. Like, she'll be cooking and she touches something hot, and I'm like, whoa, how could you do that? Like, clearly when I touch it, it's the same heat coming off of that touching me that is touching you, but it doesn't bother her. But pain is we feel pain, it's expressed differently by our brains. Like, it could be the same thing, but it will feel different from one person to the other, just depending on how their brain is wired and feels that. So say you have really, I don't know, focused pain receptors in your hip, and that's why your hip always bothers you, but it doesn't bother somebody else. But, like, the fact that everyone is different, and even if it's the same pain, like, the way we interpret it is always going to be different. And
well,
so
it's
we can't
like,
judge people.
I remember one time somebody was telling me how they were crying at their kid's doctor appointment while they were getting shots, and it was, like, so traumatic for them. And she immediately, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She started apologizing. Because, for those of you who don't know, like, I have a daughter that has multiple heart defects and has had 3 open heart surgeries and almost passed away a few times, just severe complications. But the thing, I, like, stopped her in her tracks, because I thought, that is hard. Like, you're watching your baby, someone that you love so much, which you can probably hear mine at the door. have all those problems, or just getting shot. That's sad. And I'm so grateful that that is your heart, right? Like that is hard. Like, and so we again, it's not the comparison train. Like that is hard for you. And I respect that that's hard for you, because guess what? Like there are other things that are going to be different. So don't ever discredit your discomfort and the things that make you feel vulnerable. Like that's you, and it's okay. And it's going to be, like Caitlin and Lindsay have said, it's going to be different for everybody.
Absolutely. There's a quote on the very first page of the chapter. We haven't even left the first page yet. It's the second paragraph. Does anyone want to read the first few sentences of that or the second paragraph?
That starts with vulnerability?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Vulnerability isn't good or bad. It's not what we call a dark emotion, nor is it always a light, positive experience. Vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings. To feel is to be vulnerable. To believe vulnerability is a weakness is to believe that feeling is weakness. Perfect.
I just love that. I like that she clarifies that it's not good or bad. Like, we don't have to put everything into like categories of, whether like what it is. Like, it is just the core of all emotions. And so why is it dangerous to numb? Like, there's a whole section about numbing behaviors, and like, why is that so dangerous?
You can't selectively numb. You can't decide, I don't want to feel pain, sorrow, sadness. I don't want to feel any of that. You can't select your feelings that you're going to numb. So by doing so, you're numbing joy, love, connection, friendship. You numb the other side too. You can't selectively numb.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad.
I wish she could.
Like, and I don't know. It's like, why is that? Like, because you really can't. If you, like, have you guys ever felt that feeling of numbness?
Yeah.
And I honestly think that's the worst feeling I've ever felt, is when I completely go numb and you almost
nothing.
I almost feel like I'm not real anymore. Like when I felt that. Hope. Yeah.
Like, I see it a lot of the time in eyes of people that have been through really hard things. They selectively numb, and it's like that spark of hope is gone when you numb your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad.
Shout out, by the way, to these people who are gifting subs to everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Dark Soul, Red Jedi, way to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kept saying that.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. So thank you for gifting subs, and thanks, Caitlin, for shouting that out. Thank you, Dark Soul 5768.
What does that mean?
We're on
gifting subs. They're paying for somebody else's subscription.
Oh,
that's to be a part. Yeah.
I thought it was like
nice
or something.
I'm confused.
Vivian,
my age.
These people watching are probably like, these people have no idea what.
We don't.
We don't. Whole new world.
Appreciate you.
Being vulnerable. Being vulnerable.
Yes, it is. Yes. Vivian coming out being like, oh, I didn't know what that was. And look how much joy it brought all of us. That is so funny.
Oh my gosh, sorry. Sorry, go back to your question.
No, we were just talking about like numbing, and I really think that being numb is way worse than being devastated, sad, being numb is the worst emotion that I've ever felt. And and it is sad that you really do have to experience the dark in order to see the light.
And later in this chapter, they talk a little bit about that feeling of numbness, but in a relationship, when you stop caring, when you stop trying. And I feel like that would be the saddest thing and I've experienced it in some ways, right? When you get in an argument with someone that you really care about, and all of a sudden you feel like they're not even listening, they're not even there, really. It's even worse than having them mad at you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's probably like
abandonment. Yeah.
Someone like feel bad, just like ignore them and like be numb to the situation. And so, yeah, I feel like being numb can just be so detrimental, not only with ourselves, but also in relationships.
I didn't even think about connecting those two because, yeah, at the end of the chapter, she talks about that, about in relationships. Yeah, and I definitely want to talk. We can jump there now, or do we want to jump there now, or do we want to?
We can
go there later.
Well, I think, Linz, I think too, like one thing to talk about for a second is like, how do people numb? Like what ways? I mean, I think we live in a society full of people numbing, and like, how does that express itself?
I'd be curious. Do you guys want to share any ways that you guys numb? I know personally. I definitely numb through working hard and like trying to busy myself. That's the biggest way that I numb. 100%. Like being so busy that I cannot think about everything and I just don't have a chance to feel.
Yeah. I would say I am a definite, I numb that way too. Mm-hmm. Like just getting so preoccupied with this things that you're not necessarily facing what's in front of you.
I curl in a ball, man. I'm like a shut out the world.
That's what PTA Stirling says too. They say curl up with your blanket.
Yeah. Hide from the world. Or shop.
Oh, shopping. Heck yeah. Retail therapy is a big thing.
Are we talking like there's coping skills?
I know.
Retail therapy. Isn't that a good?
Someone also
take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Someone says exercising and dieting. Okay, go on, Whitney.
Oh, that actually goes along with what I was gonna say. Like they said exercising and dieting, but like for me, numbing, like I've been known to numb through like binge eating and like food. Like I'm just like, I want to feel better. Like I'm gonna eat, like just eat till I like can't think of anything else, you know? Yeah. And for me, it's food, but I think for a lot of people, it can be alcohol, drugs, something that just like makes you forget about it and makes you feel better in the moment.
Yeah.
Then of course it gets worse and you regret it because it becomes an addiction and you feel horrible. But like substances.
In Brene Brown's one of her TED Talks, she says, "We are the most in-debt, obese, addicted cohort of adults in American history."
Ugh.
Like, and I think it is because of numbing. Oh, is it in chapter 1?
It's somewhere in here.
In her TED Talk.
I wrote it in the summary, but I think it's in the TED. It's in one of her TED Talks. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, social media. Hello. How many times do you find yourself like not even thinking ananymore and you're just like a robot like scrolling through? I have to be so careful. Otherwise, I'm like,
doom scrolling. Isn't that what they call it? Doom scrolling.
That sounds right. Yeah. Just.
Yeah. Did I make that up? Because that's how I feel. I'm like scrolling to my doom.
No, that sounds like perfectly how I feel, and I'm gonna think about that next time I'm doing it. So I'll be like, stop! Because it's horrible. It literally makes me feel dead inside. Like once you realize you've been doing it, and you're just like all your priorities have gone to the wrong place, and like your emotions have like sunk down to being like numb. Yeah.
Well, the guy who created that, like, it's weird to think that they have to create things like where it just automatically populate every time you get to the bottom. Says that he like literally feels guilty that he's wasted so many people's hours of people's life. Like, I mean, probably made a bunch of money for it. But is it worth stealing my time? No. You did that to me. Just kidding. I have agency.
Someone in the comments says, or Prism Sterling says, social media is horrible and addicting. Unless you are looking at Lindsey Stirling's profile, I will just say one disclaimer there. I can't be too hard on social media. It has created my career. I'm just kidding, but but no, but actually, but no.
Yeah.
All in good balance, because there's so much good that can be on social media, like learning. Anyways, we don't have to get into that, but sorry, who else had a comment? I feel like I interrupted somebody.
No, I think what you said, Linz, balance. Just balance.
I also love on page 37, she's basically still talking about like, is vulnerability a weakness? It's always seen as a weakness. And she asks a question. She goes, is accepting accountability weak? Is stepping up to the plate after striking out a sign of weakness? No, vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. And in the emails that I got from you guys, I saw like 5 people mention that. It's underlined in Caitlin's book too.
Yep.
Yeah, vulnerability sounds like truth, like honesty to yourself, honesty to the people that have earned that honesty. And like, that is super brave to do. Like the list that goes below. I don't know if we want to look at it. Just anybody, I suggest you look at that list and see the things that like stand out to you and be like, that's me.
How about in the comments? How about you guys answer this question?
Yeah.
How does vulnerability feel? Right? Like in the comments, tell us what it feels like to you. And let's see how many are in here. And I can't wait till the N word comes out. Oh, not the N word. The N. I didn't want to say it out loud. No, not that word.
What are you saying?
What word?
Where are you going with this?
Naked.
Naked.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I'm like sweating now.
Okay.
Vulnerability.
It's not even funny.
It says it feels
sorry.
scary. It's okay. I know what you mean.
Feeling exposed.
Yeah.
Letting others see me for who I really am.
Vulnerability
Flaws and all.
is freeing.
That was a good one. Scary,
Oh
but
my gosh.
also rewarding.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, one that like really stood out to me is probably the most relatable to me is the first one. Taking off the mask and hoping the real me isn't too disappointing. That's what like like
Yeah.
I think when you attach yourself to like, Janny was talking about this last week, when you attach your identity sometimes to like what you do instead of like who you are. It's sometimes like, I remember one time I'd worked super hard all year and I'd been on tour and I had this reward for myself to like go on a trip with some friends at the end of this like really long period where I'd worked so hard. And I got on this trip with some of these friends and I remember just feeling almost uncomfortable in my own skin because I didn't in that moment know what value I brought now that I wasn't like on stage or I wasn't working or I just like was like, and I was like, I need to go to therapy. Like, I need to like reconnect with myself and figure out that I am enough without all of that. Like, I can show up just in my naked, Caitlin, form.
That's the word I was talking
and be
about.
accepted, because.
And remember, you don't need therapy. What do we always say? You deserve to go talk to somebody.
You deserve. My sister Brooke, she sometimes says, she's like, whenever she notices that like inner conflict of like something's off or like she had a reaction to something that was like too strong for normal, she'll say, I was all excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to write it down and talk to my therapist. Like, because she loves digging and seeing like, what was the source of that reaction? Why did I feel that way? And anyways, I just thought that was funny. But anybody else have any thoughts that they want to say from any of the list or like maybe some that stood out to you?
Didn't you guys think the list that they said of like what vulnerability was for people, didn't that like bring a lot of emotion? Or was it just me?
I cried.
Yeah, like I just thought like if you read some of them, like sharing an unpopular opinion.
35.
Yeah, 35. Standing up for myself, asking for help, saying no, starting my own business, helping my 37-year-old wife with stage 4 breast cancer make decisions about her will. Sorry, I'm going to cry. I can't even read them. Because those are really hard things. Really hard things. Yeah. When I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, like people are bad A's doing really hard things.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and the last thing on earth they need is people being judgy and mean and harsh and coming after them after. But everybody does these kind of things every day. Like that in of itself should be celebrated, right? Like those are really, like, even if it's not like hard for me for that one thing, like that's hard for somebody. And I just, anyways, that was really touching to me to read those. Anyways.
One that stood out to me in that second list was sweaty palms and a racing heart. Because I remembered every time that I've had like sweaty palms or like a racing heart, I remembered what happens after. And it's always been a positive outcome. Like I've felt some sort of resolution. I've felt free. I've felt something just within me was alive after you get that feeling of I'm being vulnerable. I'm like about to do this and, and it's scary at the moment, but after there's always something good that comes out of it. And that is because you're being vulnerable.
I love that. That's amazing. That's just like what someone said in the comments. Like, it's scary, but like it's worth it. You know, there's a reward for it. Um, and also I want to comment on, you know, it's so true. Like, people are amazing. And when you think about the fact that everybody's going through something. Everybody needs a miracle. I heard that at church once, that like pretty much everybody's praying for some kind of a miracle in their life. And, you know, we would be less critical and less judgy in everyday situations if we remembered that. Like, at the grocery store when someone's being rude to you, or if someone cuts you off in traffic, like if you realized that they were going through something really hard and they were amazing, and if you honestly saw everybody as like, they cry, they laugh with their friends, they have a like suddenly, like, personalizing people, it's very overwhelming if you start to like really do that and see people as people that have struggles and that are vulnerable. And it just makes us so much more compassionate when I go into that mindset rather than just like kind of going through every day.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I oftentimes try to remind myself that everyone has a story. We've talked about this a ton. Like, everyone has a story, and even when I see, every time I see, like, for example, I talk about homeless people. Sorry, it's just my world. But when I see them, I always think of them as a baby, like this perfectly innocent baby. And we don't always know what led from baby to this, but oftentimes it's really hard things. Yeah. Right. And I would say that even for each one of us, like, we've all been through really challenging, hard things, different from each other. And I'm assuming everyone else on this thread too. And when we actually stop and realize that, like you said, put human feeling and emotion to it, we are just naturally more kind. We want to be more kind.
You know, I was watching. Oh, go on. Go on, Vivian, you first.
Well, I was just going to say that seeing people, like you said, as a baby, it reminded me of, in the book, she does talk about seeing her child just kind of like being silly and being herself, and them like loving her for her silliness. And it's because she is loved. She is vulnerable because she knows that she's loved. And so the author talks about, wouldn't it be so nice to feel that way, that you're so loved that you can just be vulnerable and silly and be seen as a child, you know? And her husband replied, well, I love you that way. And it just, that really just was like, wow, like, to think that people can love adults like for who you are, whatever that vulnerability about yourself is. I thought that was really cool.
I'm sure that means even more to you guys, because you guys have kids, and so you experience that feeling of like unconditional love for your children, and it's like, wow. Anyways, go on, Caitlin.
Well, I was just saying, when I read that same part, I was like, I want to be that person. I want to be that person for my friends. I want to be that person for my children, my spouse, my everyone, you know. And this is kind of, I have a friend, actually, Lindsey was companions with her too, Debbie. She was really brave and tried out to be oh my gosh, what is it called where you lead the
orchestra? Or director.
No.
Conductor.
Conductor, yes, like the legit conductor. She had a full orchestra and a choir and everything. When we were living in Seattle, and she got the job, and like, anyways, but she was up there performing, and I went to go watch, and I was watching her and was in awe of her because it was amazing. But then I looked over at her husband. Aww. Oh my gosh, you guys, I literally took a picture of him because he was just like, you could just tell he was so proud of her. Aww. Yes. And I like took a picture and I sent it to her and like told her about it. But I remember being like, I want my husband to look like at me like that, but I don't do anything where I'm like performing on stage, you know. And so I told him that, and he was like, I look like at you, like I look at you like that for like everyday things, you know. You don't have to be performing or whatever. But it just made me think, we can do that for each other. We can be like people who show up for our friends and celebrate our victories. It doesn't have to be something like, you know, on stage where you're conducting a huge orchestra, but we can do that for each other in our small victories. But there's a part that needs to be there, is we have to like let people know what is hard for us, like in being vulnerable and allowing, them to know like this was hard for me and I did it. And then they can celebrate with us.
Yeah. Also, what you're excited about. Like sometimes it's scary to let people know like what you really care about, because then you can discount it if it doesn't work out. You're just like, oh, that little thing. But if you let people know that like, I really want this and I'm working so hard, and it allows people to be there for you in the joy, but also be there for you if it doesn't work out, so you're not alone. And I just love that. I've met your husband, and I know that he is like, I was gonna say, I know he looks at you like that.
Yeah. But did you guys, okay, ladies in chat, I guess, when you guys watch Lindsay's hair hanging video,
oh my gosh,
who cried like a baby? Sobbed. I literally had the ugliest cry face. My husband was like, "Are you okay?" I was not okay.
But it's because we enjoy, like, we got to experience like the growth and the development and the hardship, like everything that it took for you to get to that point. So it was like watching our child hanging. Oh my gosh, it was just so cool. It was such an amazing moment.
And I invited you guys into that because I needed support. This is actually a great example. That was terrifying for me, and I needed support. I needed to like share the experience with someone, and I could only bring, I had one friend that thankfully was in the studio with me that could come, and that was Lindsay Fishman, who's running the chat out there. But I needed also like to share and like cry to someone that it was safe to cry to. So these girls cried for me while watching it, because they watched me cry in real time through the process, like as I would call you after I'd done it. So, that's why it was such a experience for all of us to do that together, and I think honestly made me feel even more connected to you guys.
Yeah. I'm glad you shared that in the Christmas special, that you put that section in there about how hard it was, because I think a lot of times we see people perform and we just see the performance and we think, wow, whatever platform it is, not necessarily just music, but people on social media or whatever, that we're just seeing the finished product.
The end, yeah.
Yeah. And we don't see like their journey and the vulnerability that goes into that journey, and how you don't get to that performance without the struggle.
So much work and effort.
Absolutely.
Do you guys feel like in any of those situations that people or yourself, actually she gave one of the examples, so one of the examples on that list was hearing how much my son wants to make first chair in the orchestra and encouraging him while knowing that it's probably not going to happen. So like when someone is trying out for something, or when Lindsay was hair hanging, or like part of me was like, oh, like I want to be so encouraging, but I'm scared for her. I don't want her to have to go through this. Like I don't want her. And if it doesn't work out, like it's okay. Like, because I grew up.
When you love somebody, you don't want them to be hurt or to feel
or fail.
Yeah, or to fail. So it's like you want to protect their vulnerability too, because it hurts you.
It's so hard, and I grew up that way. My mom is like this to a fault, and so it's hard for me. Like I want to be able to like encourage people and be there and be. But you're right. It all comes from a place of love, but it's like stepping out of that fear though. Like it can be super hard sometimes.
Yeah. It's like allowing yourself to be vulnerable for the pain of someone you love, like allowing them, because I've heard you talk about that before, about, because I'm sure as a parent that would be terrifying to like watch your kid audition for something that they're not going to make, but like I don't know, I think that
you have to like still support them, but like not, my mom is like the best mom ever, but I've told you guys this before, how like sometimes she would like, not discourage isn't the right word, but she would don't get too excited. Don't get too excited, or don't, because what if this doesn't happen, or and so
this is like the same psychology too, when someone wants to share a really like someone you're close to, they want to share like a really personal sad story. It takes effort and strength and kindness and empathy to sit and listen to that, because to truly be there, you have to open your heart to feel what they're feeling. And sometimes you don't want to do that. Like Like sometimes you don't want to go down. Like I don't want to, like, I know that for me, like a really quick example would be like my mom's mom died when she was 9 years old. And then it ended up being it ended up being a not so great situation after that. And I knew as a child, every time my mom would talk about that, I didn't like talking about it. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized it's because it hurt me to hear my mom talk about it, because I knew it hurt her so much, right? And so I'm like a mess. So sometimes, again, there we go. I'm like, so sometimes it is like that same concept what you were just talking about, Whitney, is the same even with each other. Like just hearing a really hard, sad story, it can be painful for us. And we have to be willing to sit in that grief and sorrow ourselves. And that's a vulnerable place to be. Like sometimes we don't want to do that, but imagine the beauty and the connection you make with that person. Like we just talked about with Lindsey and the hair hanging, when we do that, like we feel like we did it, you know, or I valued ugly cry when she's on stage.
Well, also, I think, Whitney, you brought up a really great point, that it's so important to make sure that someone knows that, like, and I knew that if I came to you guys the next day and was like, all right, I'm done, I can't do it anymore, that it's okay. Like, I knew that you guys were proud of me for the process. And I know I talk about my sister Brooke all the time, but she, like, amazes me to no end. And I spent so much time with her through the pandemic and her little girls. And she focuses so much on the process with her girls, like complimenting the process of whatever they're doing. If they're coloring, it's not about, wow, you did such a pretty picture. She's like, oh, I love how you're using the green crayon. Like she's talking about and praising the process. And I just heard a quote today that was like, you know, don't value your day by the crops you yield, value it by the seeds you plant. Like really finding value for yourself and for others in, you tried. Like that's amazing. And that's what this whole book is about, is like the courage to step into the arena for yourself, to watch other people do it and let them know that like I'm right there with you, whether you fall down or whether you are victorious. And I think that that's the biggest thing to learn, is not and she says it in here so well, that it's not like I might fail. She's like, you're gonna fail. If you step into that arena, you are gonna fall down. You're gonna get your knees scraped. It's not maybe I might not make it. It's there will be times when you won't. Chasing anything that's worthwhile, you will fall down. But like you get up again, and it's okay because you have your people with you. And you know, so I think that's the biggest thing that I keep relearning, is it's the process. It's knowing that it's okay whether you're victorious or not. Anyway, sorry, I just went on a really long tangent.
I love that so much.
I also like Taryn Christensen wrote in, which, hi Taryn, if you're here, I love Taryn Christensen. He says, I really like the Velveteen Rabbit passage at the end in chapter 3. So this is a little bit ahead, but I think it totally applies to what we're talking about. Real isn't how you are made. It is a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long time, and this is the voice of the Velveteen Rabbit talking about the child that loved him. When a child loves you for a long time, not just to play with you, but really loves you, then you become real. And he says, I see this as an allegory to God. We are all real because he loves us, not because how we were made. And I just thought that was so beautiful. Just like, it's the process. It's not because we're going, it's because we're doing it, and it happens to you. Anyway. Segue. I want to talk about the definition, like the root word of vulnerability. I thought it was super cool. Do you guys remember that part? It's on It's in page 39. Does anyone want to talk about that? The Latin word for vulnerable, and what does it actually mean?
To wound.
Capable of being wounded.
Yeah, it's like, ugh.
Open to attack.
Yeah, super intense. That vulnerable is like, why do you think those two are connected?
What do you mean those phrases or that word?
That word, like why does vulnerable mean to wound?
Because you just put yourself out there to be you just put yourself out there, you know, the naked word comes out again, where like you're just kind of open to whatever comes after you put yourself out there. And it's scary, but to bring it back to what we were talking about, isn't that courage? Isn't that like, wow, she's putting herself out there, you know?
Yeah.
While I was reading all this stuff, it's funny because I don't know. I know that I'm a Disney fan, but I don't know why it kept like coming again and again. Like every like Disney movie about a princess, I feel like they like come out as like vulnerable, and you're like, you know, cheering for them through the whole movie, because to you they're like your heroes, because it's like, wow, like she's doing that and she's putting herself out there. And I think that's what it is. You're just putting yourself there because you know that you can do it, and because you know that for you it's worth to try.
Yes. Somebody else have something to say, Whitney, or were you starting to say something too?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the word wound, like you're opening yourself up to be wounded. And a lot of the times, most of the time you are wounded. But it's like the process, like you were saying. And I don't know, this is a personal thing, but I thought a lot about this when I was reading this chapter. One of the examples she gave was getting pregnant after 3 miscarriages. And I kind of went through that, and it's just like it's like really hard to go through a trial like that and then to try again, you know, after. It's the same thing with failing and trying again. It's just, you do get wounded, you do fail, but it takes courage to try again, to do it again. Anyway,
yes,
we have to get wounded to heal.
Yeah, and she even says, like, that's a perfect example, and I love that you said, like, you will get wounded, but you heal. And she says that weakness is the exact opposite. In the Webster's Dictionary, it says weakness is the inability to withstand wounding. So, like, by being vulnerable, it shows that you can get wounded, and, you know, you can expose yourself to that, but that you can keep going, like, because you can withstand the blows. Let's see, can you guys go to page 41? And someone want to read the part, we love seeing raw truth. It's one of the last paragraphs on page 41.
You want the whole
do you like half the paragraph?
You tell me when to stop.
Okay.
We love seeing raw truth and openness in other people, but we're afraid to let them see it in us. We're afraid that our truth isn't enough, that what we have to offer isn't enough without the bells and whistles, without editing and impressing. I was afraid to walk on that stage and show the audience.
Oh, that's perfect. Sorry.
So
I think that goes perfectly with what Vivian was saying about, like, the Disney princesses. Like, you see that in characters in movies, and we revere it. Like, it's so powerful when you see that in, like, your idols or movie characters, and it's amazing. But then when you think, like, well, I don't know if I'm enough without my shield, and I don't know. So why do you think we can see it in others but not in ourselves?
I think we talked about this last week a bit, because, like, we're our biggest critic, but also I think we kind of we've kind of gotten to a place where, well, not everyone, but you feel like if you say that I do something really well, then people are going to think you are XYZ, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of the time it's like the fear of being confident in ourselves, and like the fear of like
being cocky, you mean? Like,
yeah,
oh, you're full of yourself or something?
Yeah, like, I think that would definitely, like, I think like we're afraid of, like, the unwanted identities that are pushed on us.
Yeah, I feel that.
I think for me, when I think of it, I feel like when we see it in someone, it's like, great, like, yes, but like if like the princess, like, all of a sudden, like, gets hurt, it's like, it's the princess that's getting hurt. But like when you like internalize it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be like that, and then you're like, no, like, I really don't want to get hurt, you know, like, you almost, like, it's out of fear, I feel like, that we don't want to put ourselves there.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, we're okay with everyone else because we're okay which is also sad, you shouldn't be okay with that feeling, but like, it's just like, it's not me, right? Like, if it doesn't work, oh well, but like, you really, really don't want to go through something that you might fail, which that's what life is about.
Absolutely.
Well, you see them in their success. They've already accomplished it. Like,
Yes.
you know, it's already over for them. So you're like, oh, good for you. But like when you're in the middle of that journey, it is not like, you know, something that you are necessarily happy about or proud of
Yes.
expressing.
You know what? I'm taken back to my very public moment on America's Got Talent, and I know everybody's probably sick of hearing about this story, but you better believe that when I was in the middle of that experience, I wanted so badly for that to disappear. And I thought to myself, like, this is going to haunt me. I hope that video falls off the cliff of the internet and like gets lost. Like, I hope that everyone, like, I hope no one associates me with that experience as I move forward. You know, because I felt so exposed and so vulnerable and like such a failure. But because that failure was so public, it was a huge part of my story and ended up being a really big reason to my success, because people liked seeing that I kept going after I fell. And so what I wanted to bury and hoped no one would find out about was actually an experience that helped make me who I am, not only personally, but like in an overarching like story that my fans still relate to. And, you know, and it's an important thing for me now.
Lindsey,
Somebody said, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think this goes back to the process. Like when we only focus on the end results of something, we miss out on the journey and the process of it. And the harsh reality, and I think we need to like even talk about this for a sec, is not every time you are vulnerable will it come out okay.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There are going to be like, there, you know, are so many times when you put yourself out there and it sucks and it hurts and it's the fact that you get back up again that like is incredible. But there are so many times when we do it that it doesn't turn out the way we want. So I don't want people to think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be vulnerable now. Like everything's going to be better if I do that. Like it's going to be hard and it's going to hurt, but you're true to yourself.
Well,
and
whoa, sorry, that was loud. It gives you time to ask yourself, is this something really worth it? Like, is this something I want to keep pursuing? Like when it gets hard, because then it gives you more tenacity and more strength to move forward and go on, you know. But there are times where you're like, okay, this vulnerability situation, like this attempt or whatever, did not work, but you still grow and learn from it, even if you have to. Yeah, the process is where the growth happens, not the end result always.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that's a chance for you to like reevaluate. Like, do I want to be in this arena? Do I want to stand up again right here, or am I gonna switch directions? And there's like no shame in that. To evaluate and decide what is worth being vulnerable for, or what things you want to keep fighting for, keep getting up for. And I tell you, it was quite a long time before my AGT, America's Got Talent story, turned into a great story. I mean, we're talking, it was 2 years of like trying to figure myself out and trying to make it work. So it seemed like it was just an awful story until it wasn't 2 years later, you know? But okay, I really loved that she said, she put two questions in there. She said, what would you attempt to do if you could not fail? And then she changed it to, what is worth doing even if I fail? I love that. Like, what would you do even if there was a big chance that you could fail? And I think that goes like perfectly along with what we're talking about.
Start a thrift store shop.
Hey, by the way, everybody, Caitlin started a thrift store shop on Instagram. It's gosh. Little Lamb. Wait, what is the?
Little Lamb's Thrift.
Vulnerability.
But,
yeah,
I know.
It is right here. No. She has the cutest like little vintage things and like little items that she finds and puts up for sale on an Instagram thrift store, and it's so really cool. Oh, sorry.
I was so nervous. You guys don't have to look it up. It's not that big of a deal. But for me, like, I literally am finding things that I think are cool and putting them out there and asking other people if they think they're cool. Does that make sense? Like, was terrifying. And luckily Whitney's not on here, sadly, but she bought half the stuff because she loves me. And I realized when I had this happen, and you guys supported me. I'm like, I can be successful because I have people who love me. Does that make sense? Like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, because I was doing it mostly just because it brought me joy, but it was scary. And if it's not fun anymore, I'm not going to do it. But I was so sad at first when I'm like, this isn't going to work. And then Whitney bought a bunch of stuff and I was like, this will work because people love me. Like, I can find joy in that sense, you know?
There were
like,
so many good things on there, Caitlin.
Yeah, everything I actually was about to buy, it sold too fast. Like the little frames and that little like pot thing. Anyways, I was like, dang it, I have to be quicker next time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, there is so much that we need to still get to. So I want to...
Oh my gosh, it's already 6 o'clock.
I know, it's already 6 o'clock. So, but we have, I want to go to section 2, which is myth number 2, is I don't do vulnerability. And how is this not true? That you can't just say, like, I don't do that vulnerability stuff.
Right. That's doing, it's like that's doing vulnerability.
It's like, it's saying I'm not a human.
I'm not going to
be
feel
part of the journey of life. That doesn't happen.
I feel like I'm not a guy, but I feel like guys kind of feel that more, like, because they are guys. I feel bad for them because it's like, I can't cry, I shouldn't be feeling this, right? Like, I feel like that myth, I feel like it's a little more prevalent in guys because it's like, I shouldn't show emotion or I should be tough. And obviously that has also come with being a woman and you want to be seen as strong. And so you don't really want to show off all of your different emotions. But how sad is that, right? Because obviously we were created with these emotions for a purpose. Anyway, I just kind of like, when I read that, I was like, yeah, like with certain, like you said, Lindsay, I am a lawyer. Like, I can't be vulnerable. I am, an engineer. We don't do that. That's like what she says over here. And so it is kind of funny how different things that define you make you feel like you shouldn't be vulnerable.
Yeah. I love a story. Well, it's like, even if we avoid our dreams, stay out of relationships, and, avoid things that bring us joy, we're still going to face vulnerability because it just happens. Like, so you can run from it and then miss out on all your dreams and still feel, you know what I mean? Or I love this story that Jim Carrey told, and he was talking about his dad. His dad was like hilariously funny and inspired Jim Carrey to like do the kind of comedy that he does because his dad was so funny, and his dad wanted to be a comedian, but he was scared. He was afraid that he wouldn't make it, and so he ended up getting, a much more practical desk job, and it didn't fulfill him, but he did it anyway, and then he got fired from it eventually, and it taught Jim Carrey that you can fail at doing things that you don't want to do. So why wouldn't I take a risk going for the things that I actually love and want to do? And so that's why Jim Carrey chased his career of being a comedian, because he was like, you could fail no matter what, you could also succeed no matter what. Like, let's go for it. And so I don't know, that kind of reminded me of that story.
The choice we have, like how much it is about what we choose to do. Like, if you're going to choose to stay home and do nothing, that's going to be your choice, like you're not going to get anywhere. But if you choose to attempt to do something different that is vulnerable, something you're excited about doing, I don't know, you just have a lot more influence on it than, sorry, that didn't, I'm going to do that at least every time we talk. I guess.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like somebody said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Caitlin. Yep.
Yep.
I thought you worded it fine.
I just like send my brainwaves to you, Jenny, and then you can
you're hilarious.
Communicate them.
I'm like, oh, I can't.
Jenny does express things so well, but it's also because you've studied this in depth. Like, you know your stuff, so it's like nothing comes without effort. Jenny's brilliant though, and
She is.
She's like our personal therapist.
Oh boy.
Yes, you are.
Seriously, in Marco Polo, like there are no there's no pauses. It's like you're reading off a teleprompter and you're like running a mile. I'm like, what?
She literally is running.
Yeah.
She is always running.
Yeah, we have a Marco Polo group where we all keep in touch and talk, and Janny is always talking to us while she's full pace running, like in the middle of a 5-mile run, and she's like responding to all of us and being like, Lindsay, I'm so sorry about that. Caitlin, that's so cool that you did this. And Vivian, I love that. Like, she's just like, I'm like, when I jog, I can't even think.
Oh,
I'm
when
like,
I'm sitting and I have my notes and I'm like, wait, what was the next thing? Oh yeah, I pause. Anyway,
Janny's our superhero. Janny's embarrassed. I'm so sorry.
Next.
Okay, no, sorry.
Okay. We're making you be vulnerable,
yes,
everyone.
we are. We're doing it for
I'm
you.
sweating palms.
Okay, one last quote before we move on to the next section. It says it's on page 45, but I can't find it, so I'm just going to read it off my notes. It says, regardless of willingness to do vulnerability, it does us. When we pretend that we can avoid vulnerability, we engage in behaviors that are often inconsistent with who we are. I thought that was really cool. You know, you're not being your authentic self. And anyways, Caitlin, did you have a thought? Whitney's back!
Yay! Somebody said this in the chat earlier, and then I lost it, so sorry I can't give you a shout out. But vulnerability and authenticity like go hand in hand. Like your AGT story, like, is that what
that's it?
Yeah. Like that's part of who you are. So in order to be authentic to yourself and your story, you can't pretend it didn't happen, you know? And so the bumps in the road or whatever, those are part of our stories, and it makes us authentic, you know? That's who we are.
I think it's interesting too when you said when we pretend that we can avoid vulnerability, we engage in behaviors that are often inconsistent with who we want to be. It would be really interesting to sit and explore what are those behaviors that we engage in when we are inconsistent with who we want to be or not being vulnerable. I think that's like such a profound question. I'm going to be thinking about that one.
Yeah. I think that's connected to one of the things over here in the list, which was saying no. Like saying no is such a vulnerable thing. Yeah. And I feel like it's so hard that how many things are we doing that we didn't really want to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. That's a really good point, Viv, because like it is so vulnerable to say no because you're afraid of people hating you on the other side. But then oftentimes through the process of doing that thing, we're not consistent with who we are.
Yeah.
I'm going to be exploring this one.
And
I love
actually,
Janny
the
looking
people on the
around.
other side, I feel like the people on the other side don't hate you. We think that they do, but whenever someone like says no, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they stood up for themselves and like told me
You
they didn't want to do
respect them.
Yeah, you
right?
respect them. Yeah.
You know, we were talking about this in Marco Polo a few weeks ago, where when you know that someone is okay letting you know that actually I'm not okay with that, or sorry, I can't help you next weekend, it allows you the comfortability, if that's even a word, to accept and know that you can ask them for help, because if they can't, they will say no. Like, they're not going to do it for you. Like, you know, if you ask your parents to watch your kids, you know, if they have the courage to tell you, you know, we can't do that time, then you'll know that actually I can trust when they say yes. I can know I'm not imposing. Exactly. And so I think it actually helps not only ourselves trust our yeses and be able to fully say yes to things, but it also helps other people be able to trust that, like, they know that we're honest and that we're not going to begrudge them things because we let them know.
I like what this person said. Don't become a people pleaser. That's not going to work. Learn to say no, and saying no is okay. And I recently had an experience with this where someone had said to me, I've learned that people pleasing oftentimes is lying.
Oh.
And
Yep.
Powerful.
And I'm like, it's true, because we often are letting something down, or we're not being fully honest with ourselves.
And you can still be nice, and you can still be kind, and you can still be, you know, I just feel like it's very connected, like saying no to like rude, but I feel like it doesn't have to be rude. It can be just as nice, you know?
Right.
Absolutely. I think this kind of ties into a note it's actually from the previous section we're talking about, but why is understanding our vulnerability and where we're vulnerable or how we're vulnerable or the things that are hard for us, like why is understanding that so crucial?
Man, self-awareness. Self-awareness is so key. Like it's probably annoying to many around me, but I explore so many thoughts and feelings and emotions that I have because I want to become completely aware and have self-mastery over myself, so that like my ultimate goal is so that I'm so self-aware that when I have a conversation with Lindsey, I can check myself at the door so I can be fully present with Lindsey or fully present with Caitlin or fully with Vivian and Whitney, like because of being so self-aware of who I am. But that takes understanding your triggers, like Lindsey, you were talking about with Brooke, like she writes that down. It's so crucial to understand because then you're in control. And then that doesn't mean like you have control over everything, but you have control over how you react to things. So self-awareness is just like I can't preach it enough, honestly. And it's a lifelong goal. And the thing is we change every day. So we're constantly having to become self-aware every day because we're growing and developing every day too.
Yeah, I can think of so many times that Janny, you've asked me, well, what are your triggers, Lindsey? Like, pay attention to like why did you feel so anxious at that thing, or why did that make you feel that way? And it's interesting to then think about that the next time I feel that way. Like, what were my triggers? Where am I vulnerable? Like, what are my weaknesses? And I thought it was interesting. Like the girl that taught me to hair hang, like I was like, I'm so afraid, when I first started, and I was telling her as I was doing it, it's like, I'm being so careful because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt my neck. And she said, that's a good thing. She goes, when you worry, or you need to start worrying when you get confident. She's like, because when you're so aware of like not hurting your neck, she's like, you're going to actually be very safe. She's like, you're going to have to really be worried though if you get confident, because that's when you're not aware of your vulnerabilities. That's when, as an athlete, you get injured. But as a person, that's when we lose that self-mastery that you're talking about.
Yeah, someone said in here, do you really want to fully control your feelings? You will never be able to fully control your feelings because feelings just are. You just experience them and you notice them and you acknowledge them. But the truth is figuring out maybe why you're having that feeling. So it's not controlling the feeling. The feelings are going to come whether you like it or not.
You don't want to control the feelings.
Right. Yeah, they're going to happen, right? They're totally going to happen. But it's the deeper understanding and then what you do about that at the end.
Well, I think for me, when I understand why the feelings came, it allows me next time I start to like feel these things, like those weaknesses that trigger me or get me into a state, I can like almost preemptively see that they're coming because I'm starting to learn the triggers, and it allows me to like prepare for them and then understand them. Like, we're never supposed to control our feelings, or we're not supposed to judge them. We're not supposed to say like sad is bad. It's just, that's what they're going to be. They're going to come. But as you start to understand the why, it helps you be like, okay, I understand you, sadness. I understand you, anxiety. And, it allows me to like prepare as they start to come, and I feel like I'm able to manage them. And
you can be so much kinder to yourself too.
Yes.
Like you just said, I loved what you said. Oh, hello, anxiety, and oh, hello, sadness. Like it's a form of self-love.
Yeah.
I love it.
So good. Okay, let's go on to maybe the next section. Section 4. Oh wait, no.
3. You gotta do 3. 3 is so huge.
I'm so sorry. I skipped 3. Okay. So vulnerability is letting it all hang out. So why is it important to have boundaries in vulnerability?
Vulnerability is not letting it all hang out. And I think this is where people get really misguided with vulnerability, because they think that vulnerability is going on the rooftop and sharing your deepest, darkest secrets with every person that you've ever, come in contact with. And oftentimes that isn't vulnerability, that's shielding vulnerability, the true vulnerability. Your story is sacred and it's very personal, and it has, there's boundaries that go along with that. And so I think the key thing in all of this is vulnerability is based on mutuality and requires boundaries and trust. So when we're out there being vulnerable, obviously we can't control it, everyone, but you don't have to just let it all hang out there. Like, that's not what vulnerability actually really is. It does have boundaries and trust involved. It's a hard concept, but this is something I think we struggle with in our world.
Yeah.
Oversharing.
Right. And that's actually something that it's funny because someone actually commented like 15 minutes ago, so it's not there anymore, but I saw it, and they were asking, but how do I know like when I should share stuff and with who I should share stuff with, right? And I think like Jani said, it's a mutual thing. And what I like about what it says on the book, it says the oversharing, it's not vulnerability. It says that may be desperation or woundedness or even attention seeking, but it's not vulnerability. And that just screams social media, right? To me.
Yeah.
It was like, I feel like there is a very fine line. And I think that's how we build those relationships that we really cherish, because they are mutual and because we can open up and because we actually can trust them. That doesn't mean that we're just going to go out and share everything with everyone because we're so vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. Vulnerability without boundaries leads to disconnection, distrust, and disengagement. And the whole reason why we are vulnerable is to create connection. But without those boundaries, it actually leads to the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. And then we're left hurt and harmed.
And if you think about it, when you're vulnerable with someone that hasn't earned that, earned the, I guess, what did it say? The relationship has to be strong enough to bear the weight of the story. And so if you are overly vulnerable, like on social media or with someone that the relationship isn't strong enough to hold that weight of the story or the experience, then you're not giving either party, either side, a chance to feel safe. Because if someone overshares, it also makes the other person be like, I don't know the appropriate way to respond to this. Like, it doesn't give either person a chance. And that's, I think, why it pulls people apart. I loved what you said, Vivian, about like attention seeking, because I think that's a great way for me to sometimes be like, what is my reason for sharing this? Is it because I think that this will be connecting and healing? Or is it because I'm crying out for help right now in an attention? I think that the motive behind it is sometimes a good way for me to just judge, like, is this authentic or is it oversharing?
Well, and it upset, like, you feel as a receiver, like, so somebody put something out there, you feel manipulated because they're not actually looking for somebody to feel with them. They want somebody to feel bad for them. And there's a huge difference. Do you want me to sit with you in the pain as you see it? Or do you just want me to feel bad for you and tell you how great and amazing you are? And that I'm so sorry you're going through this. That creates disconnection, and it actually makes the person left feeling manipulated. Like, you just manipulated me. Like, and so this is something
this is a hard concept. I don't know. It is hard. Because like, in order to be vulnerable, like, you want to open up to people. I guess it's all depends on who you're opening up to. But I think she talks about it, how like, she's like, the bad news is that it's a chicken or the egg issue. We need to feel trust to be vulnerable, and we need to be vulnerable in order to trust. So it's like,
it's so scary.
Yeah. Well, someone in the comments said that, it's hard because you're trying to talk about things to like normalize important topics, and how much of that is oversharing versus, normalizing mental health or, whatever. But I love that she tells this sweet story in the book about her daughter and what does she call them? Marble friends?
Marble friends.
Yeah, marble jar friends. And how, they put in marbles when there's like good behavior in the class, and then they take them out when there was bad behavior. And then she related it to her friends. Like, do you have friends who add to you or uplift you? Those are adding to your jar, and she points out that trust is built one marble at a time. And so the kind of relationships you have with people take time. It's not something that is instantaneous. It's something, you can't share with someone right when you meet them, but it's because you have had experiences with them and have, it's something that takes a little bit of work, and it's a give and take thing. It's not something that can happen immediately. And especially as someone you don't even know, if you're posting it on social media.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, that life is not like The Bachelor. And on your first date, you don't spill all the beans about everything that happened to you in your life. I liked, someone wrote in an email, Natalia, and she talked about how she's realizing that you can still have friends that you can still be close with that maybe aren't ready for certain things. And she almost talked about it like, it doesn't mean they're not a good friend or that like I can't be friends with them. It just means that like they're not ready for this kind of friendship, but they're great for a road trip, or they're great for, so anyways,
we all have different types of friends.
Yes.
You all have like friends for fun, friends, like everybody has, like, there are things that I know that triggers somebody that I'm not going to talk about that with them because I know it's a trigger for them. And then you have other friends where it's like, I know I'm not going to get into that with them. So you learn together.
Absolutely. Of that.
I feel like it also, when you already have a connection, like let's say that person has gone through something the same as you feel that trust too, because you know that they're probably going to understand you better because they have been through the same thing, right? I think a lot of, and that doesn't mean that you should only trust people that have been through the same thing, but I feel like it's a good point to start at, where it's like, okay, like maybe they'll understand me because they've gone through it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Vivian, you brought up earlier something that before we leave this section, I want to talk about, which is disconnecting. And so the same way that we build trust, or we like kind of gauge whether we can trust, who's ready for our stories or who you can be vulnerable with, like one marble at a time. It's the little everyday things that make us in a relationship the kind of person that somebody else can trust, like on the other side. And I thought it was so cool. She says, the most dangerous emotion in terms of corroding the trust and connection, I would say, is disengagement. And so this is what Vivian was talking about earlier. And I think that you relating that to numbing was so interesting to me, because I was like, yeah, like you'd rather someone be mad at you almost than just like cut you off slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. Did anybody else have any thoughts about the disengagement? Because she talks about that, on page 52, and I thought it was really interesting. And it just made me like really sad. Think about that, like, and how easily that can happen in relationships or.
Well, even in psychology, with the attachment theory, I'm gonna be kicked out of this thing.
No, you're not.
I learned in my
With the attachment theory, they show that the kids that oftentimes suffer the most are the ones that have been that the parents are present in their lives, but they neglect them. They don't provide, they don't give them the stimulus they need back. And so when they studied these kids, you have the kids that, like, let's say you have the kids that have been abused, where there's clear indicators of like fear, but when you have a child who's been neglected, they're in the fight or flight mode, but they look like they're not. They look calm, but their internal mechanism is up here. And disengagement does that. Like when you start disengaging, it creates, you create this fight or flight mode of like, I need you to show me that I matter and I'm important, but the kids don't show it on the outside. And I think oftentimes even with adults, we can do that.
Yeah.
It creates fear and fight or flight mode. Anyways, that would take a long time to go into, and that was a really bad example.
No, that's not a bad example at all. And I think that's so interesting. Like, and it's like, why is that? And I think the reason probably is that there's nowhere to pinpoint it. Like, it's exhausting to try to figure something out where you can't find the source. Where you're just like, why? Like, if you can not like blame something or not blame, that's not a good word, but if you can at least like pinpoint or say, okay, it's because of that, or it's because, there's a reason. Like, it's exhausting when you feel like almost you're crazy because there's nothing you can pinpoint.
You fill in the gaps with worst case scenarios. At least that's what I do. You know, as humans, we just assume the worst, and usually blame ourselves, and that's not healthy either.
Yeah, and then she puts it back to the marbles. Like trust, most experiences of betrayal happen slowly, one marble at a time. And she says that oftentimes, though, like a big betrayal is almost always like led up to with tiny acts of disengagement. So anyway,
the slippery slope. Just kidding.
Okay, section 4. We can't do it alone. Did anybody have any favorite parts of section 4?
We have to ask for help.
we're gonna ask the audience.
Yes. Oh no, that's what I read. It says we have to ask for help.
Oh, I thought you were referring to us. But please, we want to ask the audience too.
The audience.
I know.
I had one. I like she talks about a snowball effect for vulnerability. Saying that vulnerability and courage are contagious. And what made me think of it, right, the snowball effect, like the more vulnerable people are with you, the more comfortable you feel. And so you feel like you can be more vulnerable. And when I read that, I actually thought about our little friendship and our Marco Polo, because I am a little bit more, and I will say this, I'm a little bit more of like a closed book at times. And but it's been great just being able to talk about things that we can relate to and that we can help each other out. And I felt like I've opened up because I've seen you girls give me that trust, so I can also trust you, if that makes any sense. And so I like that snowball effect that she talks about, that it just contagious. The more vulnerable people are, the more you're going to be willing to be vulnerable with them.
Yep.
Yes. That's so
And
true.
I just love the last part, but I feel like we should end on that last part. So if we have other stuff, we should talk about that first. But the last part is just so good.
Yes, I loved the last page. Let's see. I had I think it's interesting that, like, I remember 2 experiences where I learned this. Once with someone, like by viewing someone else, and then once with myself. Like, I remember when I had an eating disorder, like, you know, this idea that you can't do it alone. I remember thinking that I was in this alone, and that's where stuff like that thrives. That's where mental illness thrives, is being alone. But also, it's a false thought, because you're never in it alone. Like, your choices affect other people. And all this time that I thought, like when I was pretty sick, and once I realized that I was unhealthy, you know, I'd sometimes tell myself, well, it's just me. Like, I'm doing this to myself, and at least it's not affecting anybody else. But years later, my sister Brooke, that I talk about all the time, wrote me a letter. And it was the most heartbreaking, like, I'm almost going to cry thinking about it. It was one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life, because Brooke and I grew up being best friends. Like, literally, she was everything to me, as like, and we were college roommates, and slowly we disengaged. And I couldn't put a finger on why or how, but suddenly I just was like, we're not even friends anymore. And that was what caused me to want to get better, was I was like, I think that this is affecting my relationship with her. And even once I got better, our relationship didn't improve, and I couldn't put a finger on why aren't we friends anymore? Like, it's so stiff when we talk, it's not natural. And then she wrote me this letter where she opened up to me, and she just started it with, I forgive you. And I read through the letter, and she basically talked to me all about how my eating disorder had affected her and really hurt her. And I was so unaware, because I thought that I'm in this alone. Like, I can do this, it's just me. But you always are creating a ripple effect. And that letter that she was brave enough to write me, to say that we're in this together, and I forgive you, I'm going to do my part to forgive you. After that, we had the most real conversation, and it healed us. And she's, again, my best friend. And I'm just so forever grateful that she was willing to realize that, we can't do it alone. We can't fix it alone. We can't go through life thinking that our choices don't affect other people. And that's what the whole, like, sorry, relating this to music, that's what the Shatter Me video was all about. Thinking that, like, this little ballerina is in this perfect sphere and protected, and it's like, you know, she's in there by herself, and she starts to realize that this shield, this protection, is actually a cage, and she is, you know, of course, scared to be vulnerable and opened, but she decides to break free from this cage that's protecting her in order to, you know, basically be vulnerable, but to face a world that she could possibly thrive in. So anyways, that is kind of the story that created the Shatter Me story. But anyways, I just wanted to share that one story before we go to the last page, which has so much good stuff.
I love that one. Thanks for sharing.
Oh,
no, that's really cool.
But yeah, Janny, what did you want to talk about on the last page?
Oh, I just loved it so much. So at the beginning of Brene Brown's book, she talks about Theodore Roosevelt, and Lindsay started this with this last week, the man in the arena quote. And so if you guys haven't read that, you should go read it. But anyways, what Brene Brown learned, and I think all of us, especially here, because we kind of had a little text going before we got on here, and we all just were like, this is how we feel for each other. But anyways, she says, I also learned that the people who love me, the people I really depend on, were never the critics who were pointing at me while I stumbled. They weren't in the bleachers at all. They were with me in the arena, fighting for me and with me. Nothing has transformed my life more than realizing that it's a waste of time to evaluate my worthiness by the weighing the reaction of people in the stands. The people who love me and will be there regardless of the outcome are within arm's reach. And yeah, I mean, we're so blessed that we have so many of us that feel that way for each other. And I know for me, I posted this earlier today, but I just hope everyone is that type of friend for other people. Like, be the type of friend you deserve to have. I love that. Like, they're not the ones screaming at you from the bleachers. They're in the arena with you, fighting with you, picking you up and throwing you back at the person and then like bouncing it back off. But we're so lucky that we have that. And I know there are a lot of people out there that don't. And I hope that this is, if you don't have that, try to be that and find that for yourself and be that for other people.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that this group started not that long ago. I mean, we've all been friends for a long time, but it took it to the next level when we started our Marco Polo group. So a plug for Marco Polo, but also if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you won't have it. And oftentimes it takes reaching out to someone and being the first one to do it. Like this group's, I think I started with Lindsay, like just kind of out of nowhere, and we're just kind of awkward, like, hey, we haven't done this before, but then it has grown into this, and it's because we made a conscious effort to reach out to each other, and we still have to do that every day. Like it does take work to listen to Marco Polo. It's, you know, it's not work, but you know what I mean? Like it takes effort, but it's also something that's obtainable for everyone. You just have to take a chance and reach out to people, and you're never alone. Like I know there are people that love you, you know, there are. And if you feel like you don't have those people in your life, look harder and reach out further and tell them, you know, just, make the effort, take the effort and do it.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love, there's a couple comments I want to share. Everyone, let's see, Akafaman 198 says, everyone thinks that the people you depend on are only able to watch you hurt and get through the pain, but they are with you in that hurt, picking you up when you fall and cheering you on. And then Zane said that I'm thinking of all my Stirlingite friends on Twitter. And I was actually thinking that when you were talking, Janny, one thing I love so much about like some of the people in the Stirlingite community, I see them supporting each other, and I see you guys like lifting each other, and in the comments like giving each other validation, and you know, real friendships have grown on there, and it just makes me so happy. And I always want, like, you know, my Discord or like whatever, you know, thing, I always hope that people are feeling they're safe. And but let's see, what else was anyways, also I wanted to ask, like, we're talking about the people that are in the arena with us, but if your friends and all the people that got your back are in the arena with you, who the heck is in the stands?
They don't matter.
And like, who cares? You know, like if you actually think about it, like if the people that got you, like, I don't actually want to care about the people that are laughing and pointing at me. Like, if you're not in the arena fighting with me and I'm not fighting with you, like, I don't care what you think. Yeah. You know, even though we do, but it's like, if you actually think about it, like, why do we care? We shouldn't care.
I read something recently that said, stop worrying about trying to impress people. You're always going to fall flat and be disappointed, but they followed it up with bless them instead. So bless instead of impress. And so when you're working, trying to better yourself and to be kind and loving and generous to other people, blessing their lives, that impress goes out the door and you're going to feel so much better. Bless, not impress.
That totally reminds me of the story Whitney shared last week where, you know, rather than worrying about, oh, am I going to get a candygram in high school? You thought to yourself, oh, there's a lot of people that probably are wishing they got a candy. I'm going to get them for them. And you just talked about how that like filled you with, anyways, it was such a beautiful story. And, you know, it just really makes me think like, that's so cool. Bless, not impress. I think that's it. So let's see. I guess we already kind of talked about it, but I was going to say, how can we protect ourselves from the people in the stands?
Focus on the right people.
Yeah.
On the opinions that matter. And really, the only opinion that matters is, for me at least, is God and myself, you know? Like, how am I right with myself? And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I loved what Caitlin, you were saying about like, pick your friends, you know, but find the people that you care about and that you are like, I think this person is the kind of person I want in my trust group, you know. And one of my really close friends back home is struggling because like her daughter is starting to like, you know, like she's really young and yet she's already starting to have body image issues at a very young age. And my friend was reaching out to me just being like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's so hard. Kids are sometimes making fun of her at school. And one of the girls in our group was like, will you create the environment in your home? She's at home more than she's at school. She's at home and with you more than with her friends. And so, you know, you have the opportunity to make, you know, the people in the stands at school, you cannot control what they say and she can't control how they make her feel. But when she is in your home, in your arena with you, like you have the chance to build her up. And, you know, and it was like a reminder to me of like, you can't control what the people can say. You can control the people that you let in to your space, your sacred space of like trust. And, you know, whether that's for you or for like someone you love, like make that space safe and empowering. And I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah. We use that all the time at our house. Are you a safe place for your brother? I say that like 50 times a day. Are you a safe place? And Brene Brown even says this, I want our home to be a place where we can be our bravest selves and our most fearful selves, where we practice difficult conversations and share our shaming moments from school and work. And I totally recognize and give, you know, that not everyone has that safe place at their house. And especially now, like there are people that are going through really hard things in their homes aren't safe places.
Yeah.
Find your safe place. Find it with friends. Find it with someone that's willing to take you under their wing, because there are people out there that are looking after for you and want to be that person for you. But ask yourself, am I a safe place for this person? Like I said, I say that to my kids constantly. Are you being a safe space? Because we all need those places where we can fumble and fall and make a fool of ourselves and grow and learn in a safe environment, right? Like that's the whole purpose of it. Be a safe place.
Yes. I like Prism Sterling. I says, I was made fun of at school. I was made fun of for many things, but I found good friends and I found happiness.
I'm glad.
And I love that. That's kind of all I had to talk about today. Like if there's anything else that anyone wants to share, I feel so uplifted. I love this, you guys. I feel like this is like more so for me than anybody else. Like every time we're talking about it, the fact that all of this is like hopefully just like sinking into me deeper and deeper. I've already read the book and I'm reading it again. So I just want to say thank you for all your comments in the chat. Thank for everybody for subscribing and following. Please join the Discord, exclamation Discord. If you type that in the chat, you'll get a link for the Discord. And like I said, if you subscribe, you'll get to go to a subscriber only Discord where I will be chatting and I go there. So anyways, love you all. And
Lindsay, what are we studying next week? So they know.
Yes, sorry, good call. Do we want to just do chapter 3? Because that takes us pretty far. That takes us like to page 111.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely just
sure.
one.
Yeah, I know. Originally, so I am sorry, some of you probably might have read 2 and 3, but I was like, that is so much to talk about and make notes about. I was like, I'll never get through it. So yeah, we're reading just one chapter, and if you already read it, then just kind of skim it again if you feel like it, and come back next week and we will discuss. So
yeah, and if you guys have any suggestions for us, because like we said, we're all new to this Twitch thing. Yeah, like what we could do to make it more enjoyable for those watching, let us know. We would love. Send them to the email, or I don't know. I guess we could look on here. Yeah,
you guys can send them to the email, and any like if you want to share a story or something like the ones I've been sharing, you can send them to the email, which is stirlingsbookclub@gmail.com, or you can put it in the Discord, and just let us know what you if there's other things you want us to do. That was a great idea, Caitlin. But anyways, thanks for joining, everybody. Love you. You guys don't have to leave if you don't want to. We can just chat if anyone wants to talk to me. I mean,
we could be your safe space.
I'm gonna force you to talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. If you guys, I'm sure. Actually, I'm gonna let you go. I'm sure your kids are probably like wondering where you are. And I really appreciate you guys taking time, like 2 hours, to do this with us. So, because you guys are so wise. And anyways, so I'll say goodbye to my friends, and I might just hang out a little bit more on the chat with these guys and just hang maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So, mwah.
I can eat my dinner that Benson brought me.
Oh my gosh, your husband brought your dinner in the middle?
Oh, Benson.
Yeah.
Did he slide that in? No.
Yes. But it was just tempting me the whole time. I wanted to.
Just slide it to me. I don't know where you are.
It's a little crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, love you, girls.
Love you.
All right, guys. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Oh.
All right. I'm gonna go to that work. No. Oh. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulty. Full camera gaming. Oh. Sorry, guys. I'm here. Don't worry. Oh, my team of magical elves. Thank you so much for helping me. But yeah, I just wanted to hang out for a little bit longer. Sorry. Still a black, everybody's letting me know that, like, still a black screen. But yeah, I actually am curious. Can you guys let me know in the chat, like, what you're enjoying the most? I'm actually just really curious if you guys are if you enjoyed the time when I was practicing and playing, or do you guys like it when I do games with my crew? Or the book club? Like, I'm curious, what are you guys liking the most? So I'm gonna be like looking at the comments right now. Okay, people are saying, oh, the dog needs our love. Yes, Luna was just here. Oh, I love you guys using the little emojis. Loving the book club, all of it. Games are fun, yes. All of them. You should try fine. Like the practicing. Okay. Loving the music. Okay, this is fun. Mostly like the games. Okay, well, I actually was thinking I might get my dancers on to do a game. I think that would be really fun. So I'm trying to like round up basically all the women on our crew. So it would be like me, Lindsay, Jessica, Kaylin, Taylor, Addie, and then probably I'm trying to get Olivia, who's our merch girl. Because like honestly, I miss everybody so much, and I just want to. I don't know, it's like a great opportunity to be able to see that, and someone saying, oh my gosh, that would be so fun. So Animal Crossing, you know who I should play Animal Crossing with? Justine. good friend Justine, she like loves it and tells me about it all the time. So okay, Animal Crossing, Toontown something. Yeah, any others? Oh, I love that. Someone said I may not no shadow. I'm liking the book club. I may not communicate during the stream, but I read a lot over the week. Thank you. And yeah, if you don't want to share, that's totally fine. I just am happy that you guys are here. My edits the same. Oh my gosh, so many requests for Animal Crossing and another one for Toontown. Oh, I should play with Kit and Drew. I miss them. I just started. I'm obviously a huge fan of Marco Polo. It's my favorite way to keep in touch with people. Oh, someone says they love my eyeliner. Thank you. Very like winged up today. Also, this hair reminds me of hair hanging because it's so slicked. Anyways, thanks for being so open in these videos. Yeah, who knows? Am I being appropriately vulnerable or am I oversharing? I was like, oh my gosh, now I don't know anymore, but I feel like it feels right to me. I'll share it. Thank you for sharing your family with us. You know what? Actually, speaking of being vulnerable, it was super vulnerable for me to play for you guys the other day on Twitch Live. Because like I said, usually I'm super rehearsed before I do anything. I like to be very prepared. I want to have my setup with like reverb, and I just get so nervous that if I take away all the filters and the preparation, that I'm not enough as a violinist. And so playing for you guys the other day live, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that again, because it was really nerve-wracking for me to like do it on the spot and to show you guys how I practice when I'm not ready. You know what I mean? I was very scared. So, but I did it because I was trying to be vulnerable. Okay, wow, the comments are coming in so fast. I'm glad someone's talking about they're glad that I was vulnerable in that way. Yeah. Anyways, my voice goes out sometimes. Uh-oh. Sorry, I wonder if my connection's bad. My stripped down playing is incredible. Seeing behind the curtain is a gift. Well, thank you. Because it really did make me nervous. But, you know, I'm trying to get over that hump. Like, I'm trying to get over the fact that I'm not enough without all the bells and whistles. Exactly what she talked about in the book. So I appreciate you guys always being there for me. And, you know, it has been really fun doing this streaming stuff. And by the way, I can't say officially yet, but I am having a really good feeling about my summer tour. We're hoping to go on the Artemis tour this summer in the States. I think it's set to start in June, but tickets are still on sale and they've been selling. And like, I just am so excited because, you know, of course, if the tour gets canceled, all tickets will be refunded, but I am feeling pretty confident that it's going to happen because vaccine is coming out. They're saying that it's going to be readily available to everyone soon. And Disneyland is opening at the end of April. So if Disneyland is opening, then I am pretty sure that concerts will be a thing. Right? Am I right? I mean, Disney rules the world. Oh my gosh, someone's saying, Prism Sterlingite says that you have tickets for August. Thank you so much. And by the way, so many of you kept your tickets when the tour got moved from last summer to this summer. And I can't even tell you, that meant the world to me that you would keep your tickets for the show. And, you know, I like started crying when I saw how many people had their tickets. So, and okay, hope it will work. I started in Leipzig in 19. Wait, where'd that go? It was, oh, I want to see what you said. And it was amazing. Thank you. Leipzig, yes, I remember performing in Leipzig. Oh, we had so much fun in the Artemis tour in Europe. It was just amazing. So I'm like, I really want to do that tour elsewhere. I want to take it I want my mom to be able to see it. My mom was so sad when she's like, oh, I won't get to see your show. Because my mom always comes on the bus with us actually sometimes even in Europe she'll come and she'll like hang out with us, and she always likes to see the show at least 4 times, cause I like to see all the different things, and every time I see something new, my mom is. Oh, Kellen says, why would I ever give up a Lindsey Stirling ticket? Thank you. I'm holding my ticket even if I wait another year, from Zane. Thank you, Zane. Oh my gosh, so many of you guys have tickets. Starling 1318 has tickets for New Orleans. New Orleans is a freaking cool place. Oh my gosh. Ann Navarre has treat. Yes. It's gonna be so amazing. I swear, when I step on stage, I am going to cry. Like, I'm just gonna have tears of so much joy. Like, when I step onto the tour bus, I'm gonna have tears of joy. When I go into my first dressing room, I'm gonna cry. Like, I just think it's gonna be such an emotional experience for everyone. Because when we made the Christmas show, even, which was such a joy to make, and I'm so grateful for you guys for supporting it. That was such a dream. It made me feel like we were on tour again, and my whole crew was there, and we all got so emotional as we were filming it, and as it was wrapping up, and it was like the last few days, we were just like, oh my gosh, this has been so special, you know. And having something taken from you always makes you realize how blessed you are to have it. Nat Sato is asking about Brazil next year, possibly. I really hope so. I was devastated. We actually landed in South America the day that the US closed its borders. And so we immediately, like, we didn't even leave the airport. We like got our bags, got on a plane, and came straight home from Bogota, Colombia. And I was just devastated because, you know, we'd prepared for several months and we'd gone through all the rehearsals. And then as soon as we landed, pandemic time, and we went. So I hope we get to come to Brazil soon. Basically, as soon as we're allowed to, we're going to come. Pretty much what it's down to. Let's see. I still have my VIP tickets for Washington. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Oh, someone's saving for an electric violin. That's awesome. Also, just want to remind you guys, thank you so much for subscribing and following. I really appreciate it. This is a whole new world for me on Twitch. So again, !Discord. Type that into the comments, then you can join. A link will pop up and you can Discord. If you subscribe, you get to be on a nice little subscriber only Discord, and I answer a lot. Oh, someone's saying they absolutely loved my Christmas show. Thank you so much. I've also been asked a lot about a DVD of that next year, for this year, and the answer is yes. We are planning to. We're trying to work out the kinks to get that. We're either going to restream it or make a DVD. Not sure which one is going to work out, but it's pretty much just what works, what we can do. My tour, when is it starting? Kat is asking. It's starting, I'm not sure the exact date, but you can go to lindseystirling.com, and it's going to be a States tour. And we might do a Christmas tour as well. Oh, someone's wearing one of my concert merch. Yay! I also think I'm going to make some merch for Lose You Now, because that's such a heartwarming video, and I loved that it meant so much to so many people, so I'm working on out. Ooh, their viola into an electric. Am I buying any new violins? I think I might create a new one soon, because one of the projects I'm starting to work on, I had an idea what would be a really cool violin. So hopefully soon, because it's always fun to, like, you know, check out some new violins. As you can see behind me, we've got, this one was given to me by fans in Russia. I named her Anastasia. Yeah, she was given me by the Russian group. So beautiful. Art on her. Then this one back here, as you can see, is the Round Table Rival violin. And on my wall, I have like pictures for when I'm like stuff. I can like get excited and see all these. Got everything from my dancers to, like, right in the middle there is Amy Lee from Evanescence. and me rocking out on stage. We got Luna over there, the one and only Eric Jackson. Good times. Of course, some pictures of Gavi, but this room. Because I think it's important to surround myself with things that make me happy, things that get me excited, that bring back memories, and that like make me excited for the future. I think photos do. Remember when I printed these out, I was shocked how much joy it gave me, because we don't print pictures anymore. You know, they're just all on our phones, and being able to like see them and put them in a frame, it just made moments from my past feel like they were coming alive, and it was really, I don't know, I highly recommend printing a couple pictures, special to you. Let's see. I love this picture of Luna, by the way. I don't know if you can see her little tiny feet right there. They're like in a perfect dancer. Let me just pull this up for you. I can reach it with my hand. Oh, I guess I can take those out now. Okay, check out this picture of Luna. Look at her little legs. It's like, and her arm, it's literally perfect dancer form. And the funny thing is her body's literally flailing, because when she does her little trick and turns in a circle on stage, she's spinning right there, but her body's just kind of flailing. The photographer just happened to capture it in this perfect, oh my gosh, I love that picture. It's like my favorite. Anyways, I'll put my room there. Yeah, I love these pictures. It's like all the different generations of my touring, and all these people feel like family to me. That's another thing I'm so grateful for. I really feels like they are truly family. That should be a print for sale. Oh, maybe I'll put the prints up for sale, because some of these, oh, and yeah, that's probably when Luna was bright pink, I think. It was that Christmas tour. Does she used to do that? Yeah, she would twirl on stage. Sadly, we can't do it anywhere outside the US because it's too complicated to tour with a dog. Gotta get him like, doesn't come to Europe, so. Is Luna Instagram coming? Oh, is Luna or Tiny Instruments coming back on tour? We did the Tiny Instruments sometimes in the Christmas show still. Haven't done it for a while. Thank you for following, Zane. I don't know if we did it. No, Toys was not on the Artemis tour. But we did it in the Christmas show last time. So I don't know. It's a really fun part of a show. So it's something that I think I'll keep bringing back every once in a while. Not every tour. And yeah, Luna comes anywhere in the States. More Lindsey Time videos. You should do a challenge video. You know what? I don't really do Lindsey Time much anymore. I'm so sorry about that. I know that a lot of you guys used to really enjoy it, and I enjoyed it too. But now I've actually started doing a lot more on TikTok. And so I think that's kind of been, you know, now I do, oh my gosh, look at her. I love dog. Buddy. But yeah, so if you want to see more like lifestyle, casual Lindsey stuff, I post that on Instagram Reels now, or I put it on TikTok. Come follow me there. By the way, thank you so much to all of you guys, because I just hit or surpassed 1 million followers on TikTok, and I've been working really hard at it. And okay, let's see. I still remember coming to your concert in 2017 in Brussels. The short guy with Zelda jumper, if you remember, with a violin. Oh, that's so cool. Brussels, I love Belgium. Oh, someone's new here. Oh my goodness, Lindsey on Twitch. Hi, that's Sane Nevermore. Thank you for following. Oh, I'm going in and out. I'm so sorry that it's going in and out. I will try to fix that for next time. I hope it wasn't doing that the whole time. Anyways, okay. I think I'm gonna close it up for tonight. I've been rambling on long enough, but thanks for chatting with me, and I I think I'll let you guys know. I'm going to try to make a better schedule. We do this book club every Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. We do it every Thursday, 5 o'clock Pacific time. But I occasionally will be posting on Instagram and stuff that I'm doing games with you, or that I'm going to be playing. So even though it makes me feel vulnerable, I'm going to do the playing again, the practicing live on Twitch. So thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks for following. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for being my friend. I sure love you guys. And with that, I bid you adieu.